Yeah, right, and I admit it.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started, and I'm gonna ask Jeff Cook, our secretary, to read the notice of public hearing.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yep,
Okay, Killingworth Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at the town office building at 7 p.m. Tuesday, June 17th, 2025 regarding the following regulation. To approve the text amendment to the Killingworth zoning regulations to add a new regulation titled Active Adult Community and Related Definitions. Article 39 will allow for variations to a conventional subdivision in density, type of dwellings, and residential use facilities in order to promote the development of housing for older persons and to provide for the preservation of open space land. A copy of this application and the complete text amendment is on file with the Killingworth Town Clerk. At this hearing, written communications will be received and interested persons will be heard. Paul McGinnis, Chairman, dated Killingworth, Connecticut, 22nd May 2025.
okay, thanks, Jeff. I'm just gonna go over the order of a public hearing, just so everyone knows when you'll have a chance to talk and when you have a chance to listen. So basically, at every hearing, any persons can appear as in tonight, and you may be represented by agent or even an attorney. One or more matters may be heard at this meeting, but this is just, at this hearing is just about the adult active regulation. The applicant, or in this case, the town, will be heard in support of their application. And then the commission will have the opportunity to question the applicant. However, this was developed in, concert by the commission, so there really probably won't be much of that. And then persons in attendance can take turns based on how you sign in, giving their name and the opportunity to ask questions about the regulation. And so all questions obviously have to be related to the regulations and not some other planning and zoning issue, obviously, just on support. And you're not making arguments for or against it at this point. You're just asking questions, clarifications. And then we go into the second phase, which would be proponents. People in attendance who are in favor of it can speak in favor of the application. The commission can then question those people, and then persons in attendance can in turn give their name, but we'll collect those names in advance. And then the third part is if there's any opponents, then they can oppose and state the reason why they oppose the regulation in this case. The committee can question those persons, ask, the nature of their concern. And then persons in attendance will again give their name and opportunity to respond to that. And then the town, or probably Linda, will summarize the regulation before we make a motion to close the hearing. So there's multiple parts. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to Linda to just talk about the regulation. Not read it. Everyone should have been able to see it in advance, but talk about some of the why we're doing this and give a little background.
Okay, so it is to allow active adult, which typically means over 55 communities in town in the rural residential zone. The regs have been reviewed by legal counsel. We've incorporated any changes or suggestions from Attorney Grants. They were sent to both RiverCog and CCOG. Neither of them have any issues with it. So just in brief, it's going to require a minimum of 10 acres. There can be community wells and septics. All buildings have to meet all the setback requirements, a maximum of 5 units on an acre. We're still going to have 40% of the shall be landscaped or left in a natural site of the land. Minimum dwelling requirement of 1,000 square feet, maximum size of 3,000, 2 bedrooms, parking, anything with dedication of occupant, open space and amenities that will be owned by the association. Typical subdivision erosion and sediment controls. That's briefly just a typical, very similar to other towns for active adult regulations.
And I think it'll also promote, more affordable housing units than traditional ones within the town for active adults or retirees.
Right.
That's one of the purposes also.
Right, it keeps with the plan of conservation and development.
Yes. Okay, so thanks for summarizing that, Linda. Linda's our CEO, in case people didn't know. So the commission, do you have any additional questions? I know we crafted this together, so anyone on the commission have questions about Linda's summary? Or Reg? Okay, all right, so then, the people in the audience, we could go by this. Or if you have questions about, questions about this, you can ask questions, not make statements in support or against, that comes later. But does anybody have questions or clarifications? Yep. Your name?
My question is,
Wait, your name first?
Marcel Couture,
Okay, I'll just put a check mark next to your name.
Yeah.
Thanks for filling it out. Yep.
have we identified how many potential lots there are in the town of Killingworth that would meet the 10 acre requirement? And I mean, if it's a lot on some tiny side street somewhere, would that still apply or would that be excluded?
I mean. You want me to-
Good.
It would still apply, it's a 10 acre minimum lot
Anywhere?
anywhere.
Okay.
It has to go to special, it's a special exception, so it has to go to public hearing.
Yep.
And, what you see normally in towns is they're not gonna be out in some little corner where there's nothing else. They're gonna wanna be closer to main arteries. Normally, could they be out there? Yeah,
And that would
Some-
depend on the developer's
right. It would
choice.
depend on the developers. It would depend, a lot on the land. When we say 10 acres, it's 10 acres of buildable soil,
Yeah.
so. Whether it can hold the well and the septic and all of that and get enough for them to make it worth their while to do it.
Any idea how many lots fit the bill in the town?
No,
No. Okay.
There's a lot of 10+ acre lots, but there's a lot of wetlands and
Mhm.
rocks.
Any other questions?
Created a list of about 20 of
Yeah, your
Hi,
name?
Nancy McCormick.
Okay, Nancy.
So do these all have to be owner occupied? Or can they be, rented as long as somebody that's living in it is 55 plus?
That, I think, would be a matter for the association. This, the condo docs, for the association. Determine if it could be a rental unit or owner occupied.
Okay, so you could be, sorry, I don't mean to belabor the point, but you could be an owner of, and so therefore you would be part of the association, but then the association decides whether or not you can rent it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not personally familiar with any associations like this. That allow non-owner occupied units. It's always owner occupied.
The commission would approve anything that came through,
Right.
so we would have some say in that as well. Okay, good questions. Anyone else? Sure. Yep.
A couple questions. Can't find it, but I thought I read something where you were gonna minimize the quantity and what would take up typical road construction, and something about possibly a single way in and way out. Is that true, and is there a limit to the length of road, if that is true?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, and you mean like the road in terms of frontage, you're saying?
Yeah, a road into a subdivision. Pretty sure I read that you're considering or allowing a way in and a way out, where typically when you have that way in and a different way out. So my question is that true? And is there a cutoff on length of road? Or would you be looking at fire tanks, that kind of stuff?
I think that's gonna be determined by fire safety code. And what you can get in there and what you can get out of there. And again, because it's gonna be a special exception, things like the length of the road egress in and out is gonna be considered under a special exception. That's where the commission has a lot of leeway and discretion to decide, is this a safe situation?
And, I think it's, number 7. The maximum impervious surface shall not exceed 60% of the site. Remaining 40% shall be landscaped or left in the natural state. So previous to that, you're saying you may be allowed up to 5 units per acre, and you said that you could do 1,000 square foot all the way up to 3,000. Is that 60% and 40% supposed to be left in its natural state for one lot? Or are you talking about if you have a 100-acre site, 40 acres can't be disturbed?
That would be correct.
Yeah, I think it's collective.
Okay,
So if you have, if the whole parcel is, 10 acres, then you would have to have 40% of that. And, landscaped or left natural. You'd have to have 4 acres total. It's not each lot needs 40%
okay.
of its lot, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't made clear. Okay,
I guess it says 60% of the site.
Yeah.
So whether or not we have to clarify what we mean by site. Versus, at least it doesn't say lot. So I don't know if we're calling this a site or.
and I have one final question.
Yeah.
5 units per acre, could that be 1 unit with 5 units in it?
Possibly.
Okay,
Yeah, you can
depending
have
on
multiple.
soils and,
Possibly.
okay,
Yeah, they could be single, duplex, or tri-units, whatever the developers, plans, I think we would have some say in that, and we want to see how it's laid out. But the intent is to have it, more concentrated, so then the rest of the space can be open, and left for recreation or walking or, other things.
and aside, around 2005, I approached planning and zoning. None of you guys were. And we did not have active adult regs, and we tried to have them adopt what we wanted to try to do. We just built a beautiful 55 and over and had them right behind where Jeremy Adams has his repair shop. Maybe Paul Hill. And they did fantastic, like 24 units on 16 acres. We did all this, we did every subject well. And we urged Tom and, the others to come take a look at that. And we'd like to work with the community. Instead, they came back with conservation subdivision and crossed off and put 55 and over, which is why no one's ever done. It's not practical. You need, so I'm really hoping you guys are going after the density and the creation of maybe finally some kind of a tax base versus, conventional housing or affordable housing. I'm looking at our school budgets and a new school, and, when I went before the town then to try to craft something, our school budget was around 22 million. So I'm glad to see this. Be honest with you, I'm not crazy about the 40% of total land mass. I think you're kind of shooting yourselves in the foot there. If it's good land, 55 and over people, and the ones I have built don't want to see open space where there might be soccer fields and something else where somebody else could be in there using it. They kind of want to have them peace and quiet.
The regulation states that it's the exclusive use of the owners. Homeowners.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it did say that. Enforcement, is another thing, but yeah, that's the intent. That's what the reg says.
That's all I got. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks for your questions and feedback. Anyone else with questions or?
I just want some clarification on one
Okay.
thing. If the,
And the
if
name?
a unit
And
can,
give your name.
I'm sorry, Mary Solera.
Okay,
Um,
thanks.
the unit is between 1,000 to 3,000 square feet, and there's only 2 bedrooms allowed. That's a lot, for 3,000 square, if you decided to have 2,500 square feet, that's a lot. Is it just, you can only have 2 rooms identified as bedrooms, right? But you can have however many rooms you would like. right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking the intent there was we didn't want to
I just wondered what that,
encourage families and, you know, six people and,
right, I get that.
Yeah.
But.
You're right. It's a big living room, a big dining room, right? If you have that. We're just trying not to limit, limit it too much, so it'll be, maybe somebody would want something, like that, and maybe not all the units would be that large, but that's why we give a wide range.
Only when you have company.
Yeah, like the dining room, right? Most places, okay. So, all right, anyone else?
Is that hard and fast then? I mean, it's hard and fast, 2 bedrooms.
As it's written, yes.
Especially normal.
Don't put closet in
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we move on to phase 2, proponents, persons in attendance, can speak, in favor of the application. And I heard little hints of some of that, during the questions, but this is your chance to say why you like it or what you like about it, or if you think it should, become a regulation. Okay,
Joan Gay.
yep,
First of all, I 100% support this regulation. I think it's been long overdue for Killingworth. And I really commend all of you on the Planning and Zoning Commission for writing this up and supporting it. I think it's awesome. I would just like to commend that some units, and the number to be designated by Planning and Zoning, units be designated as affordable housing for seniors. And this recommendation is supported by the Town of Killingworth Conservation and Development Plan and the Town of Killingworth Affordable Housing Plan. In the Town of Killingworth Conservation and Development Plan for 2018 to 2028, which is declared by the Planning and Zoning Commission. I was a member on Planning and Zoning at that time. And we made sure, and the plan contains the following: under housing characteristics, to provide housing in Killingworth for those of moderate income and to ensure that such housing be developed in a manner consistent with the rural residential of Killingworth. The Planning and Zoning Commission has adopted affordable housing regulations. However, only 5 units have been built under this regulation. Under the section Conservation and Development Policies Plan for Connecticut, expand housing opportunities and design choices to accommodate a variety of household types and needs. Local land regulations must encourage the appropriate development of multifamily, mixed use, mixed income, and low to moderate income housing. Housing policy needs to be managed in a manner that promotes inclusionary zoning practices at the municipal level, affords municipalities to maintain the unique character of their communities and address housing choice and mobility on a regional basis. Now, in 2018, we put in several revisions to the 2005-2010 plan. One was to expand housing opportunities and design choices to accommodate a variety of household types and needs. The plan notes that Connecticut's population is aging. State agency policies include enhanced housing mobility and choice across income levels and promote vibrant mixed income neighborhoods through full ownership and rental opportunities, supporting the adaptive use of historic and other existing structures for use as residential housing, promoting housing and or affordable housing as part of the mixed use in transit. Under the section alternative housing, it is recognized that housing in Killingworth is expensive and often beyond the reach of children of residents or the elderly who may wish to scale back from a large house to a more manageable residence. There are no easy solutions to this problem, which are mainly due to the high cost of land that makes it difficult and uneconomical for developers to provide affordable housing. The current zoning regulations contain provisions for alternative housing designed to accommodate a more efficient use of existing housing stock and to meet the housing needs of smaller households, the elderly, and those of medium income. These are regulations governing affordable housing, accessory apartments, 2-family dwellings, and apartments. In addition, age-restricted housing is permitted through the retirement subdivision regulation. Now, the alternative housing options as described in the plan state, or Article 7, affordable housing of the zoning regulations, provides for affordable housing for the purpose of promoting the inclusion of below market rate housing, units in residential development so as to increase the diversity of the town's housing stock and provide housing for those of low or moderate income. These regulations, which permit a smaller lot size, are not binding on developers, but are presented as a guideline as to what is considered compatible with the rural residential nature of Killingworth and the necessity of protecting groundwater supplies. Other alternative housing techniques. Flexible zoning techniques can be used to promote a wider range of housing development available to a very varied economic population. These include floating zones, planned development districts, and overlay zones. Under Connecticut Statute 8-2I, inclusionary zoning, the Planning and Zoning Commission can set aside affordable housing units in any special permit, special exception, or subdivision application. Although there are no specific proposals for such alternative zoning techniques at the present time, they could be considered in the future as needs or as circumstances warrant. Now, that was all in the Plan of Conservation and Development, which is coming up to be revised pretty soon. Now, I also researched the Town of Affordable Housing Plan adopted May 23rd, 2022 by the Board of Selectmen. This was completed in partnership with the Committee on Alternative Housing, of which Planning and Zoning did have a member on it, and Planning and Zoning Commission, developed in conjunction with the Lower Connecticut River Valley Council, known as Rivercog. The objectives, strategies, and action steps. There were 6 objectives and strategies with specific action steps associated with them. Number 1, explore inclusionary zoning approaches for multi-unit development. New housing in Killingworth would only meet the state statutory definition of affordable housing. Inclusionary zoning is an approach that requires a town-determined percentage of new units to be deemed restricted or affordable for housing, making less than 80% of the state median income, or MAI, whichever is lower. Study the feasibility of underused town-owned properties for housing development. Some cases may be conducive to affordable housing. Review the appropriateness of soil-based zoning and revise as needed. Review and revise zoning regulation to allow non-billable land to count toward minimum acreage. Work with Connecticut Housing Finance Authority to promote home ownership in Killingworth. Strengthen the town's capacity to further affordable housing. And in the report, there was also a section there that said cost burden households earning greater than 30% of their income in housing may have difficulty affording other necessities. Seniors, 65 and older households, and homeowners are more likely to be cost burdened than any other groups of owners. Now, it's my understanding, and I'll stand to be corrected, that I don't know if the Planning and Zoning Commission has taken any of these objective strategies and actions plans that have been adopted. I would suggest that they be reviewed and implemented as appropriate. Now, I understand there's a concern that developers, when they hear the phrase affordable housing, they're turned off on it and they don't want to deal with it. If this was pure affordable housing, I could see that. But this regulation is for active of 55 plus, which I strongly support. But I would just recommend that a few units as defined by you or a percent defined by you that would be designated as affordable housing for seniors. This is not in any way addressing the issue of affordable housing in Killingworth, which I know is still a concern. This is just for this community, 55 and plus. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you letting me read this.
Thank you, Joan. Does anyone else want to speak in favor of it? And if you agree with Joan, you can say I concur with Joan, you don't have to read the plan of conservation development again, but thank
I
you.
wrote it all down because I wanted to make sure I did not make a mistake or misinterpret it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your research on this area. Yeah, go ahead,
Danny McGonigal, I concur with Joan. I support your efforts, to expand housing for seniors. And I would suggest that you require some affordable units. There is a dearth of affordable housing in Killingworth, and these projects would give us that opportunity to address that challenge. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. Yep.
Marcel Couture.
Yep.
I support the plan as presented. It's a great start. I think there are probably some other areas where you can work on affordability down the road a little bit, but let's break the ice here and get this moving. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marcel. Anyone else? Well, you can wait till everyone else goes and then. Jen,
I'm
you can-
Sandy Allard.
Okay, Sandy.
I think this is amazing that we're even talking about this in this town. We have lost so many valuable members of this town because they can't find some place to live. There is no place, let's be honest. Affordable or not, there's no place to go into. The part that bothers me as the community ages out, most of the volunteer work that the town does not pay for is being done by seniors. They're not working, they're home, they're doing the gardening, they're doing all that. That's all free labor. If we have to move out, I don't think the middle agers that are working, that have children, are gonna have the time to devote and help the town the way that it's being done right now. So what happens is the town's gonna have to pay for it, so I think it's an extra burden on the town. That's my opinion. I'm thrilled because there is no place to go and we all want to, I want to stay in town. All of us want to stay. We love this town. And it actually, we're being forced out because there's no place to move to. So that's just my opinion.
Okay,
I might say one thing, because I haven't,
the name,
Right.
your name?
oh, Jeff Brewer.
Jeff Brewer, okay, I'll let your name here, yeah.
The one concern I have is that, we not put any of these things under 830G because the cost of building something that's deed restricted and uses the HUD regulations is 40% higher than normal residential builders do for a good house. And then the people who move into those houses have no chance to build any equity. So you're hurting them more than you're helping them. So deed restrictions, I don't know. I just want to make sure, because I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee of the Chamber, and we've done some more than a little bit of work with Senator Murphy and his staff, trying to get them to modify the HUD regulations, which are the cause of all these expensive properties, and we haven't had any luck. But I'm also on the Environment and Infrastructure Committee and on the regional economic development. So I'm focused on affordable housing, and I've tried selling affordable housing in this state, and been beaten back by, because I'm a commercial industrial real estate agent right now. And I've been beaten back by many towns who didn't want affordable housing. It's really frustrating. And there's properties out there that were approved by towns and never got developed because the people in the town managed to put the developers out of business by taking them to court. You gotta be careful how you do it so that you don't end up doing that. And that's happening everywhere. It's happening right now.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Any other support? Speak up, name.
Yeah, my name is Bill Leahy.
Yep.
I concur with most of what's been said. I congratulate you for getting this far with it, having been on the zoning board when we finally got some mother-in-law apartments approved about 25 years ago. And having to go through the same process for that. It looks, when you look at the towns around us, all of them are doing a bang up job with both the affordable expansion of affordable housing and the idea of the 55 plus, which for us is more affordable. When you're leaving what your house is behind, it's a good time to make a move like that. But if you need help, there's obviously people in the room that are gonna be very helpful, and there's a positive effort. It is, I would say, look to see what other people are doing, because it seems that some of the towns around us are really moving ahead with this. Most of the growth they're getting is not in single family. And in fact, that frees up single family homes for other people, because you're leaving, I want somebody to buy my house that has kids, because two people banging around in it is too much house. So you need a place to go to, and there's no place to go in this town unless you go to another town or you move into the park. So, and that only happens when there's an opening. So you can wait a long time for
Right.
an opening. There's also a standard out there for green buildings that includes multifamily buildings. It's from the US Green Building Council. And you can get certified as being a sustainable building and meeting all the environmental requirements. And as part of that standard, you do have to make a percentage affordable as well. So there's a number of buildings that I've worked on where it's been anywhere from 10 to 5 to 10% of the housing units have to be rented at an affordable or sold at an affordable level. And there's a formula for that. It's not as low as people, I mean, everybody imagines that means really cheap housing, but in fact, it's more rent stabilized or cost stabilized to people who maybe have half the income when they were, together with their family, and all of a sudden now find they're in a different time in their life.
Okay, thanks, William. Anyone else in support of it? Kathy?
Yeah, I definitely support it, and like the others, I congratulate you on moving this forward. And I won't repeat the reasons that they've given. I think including some affordable units is an excellent idea. The only point I'll add out loud is that it's a great first step. Assuming we pass it, and it will be an experiment in how some, contemporary building standards and zoning standards can allow more, different varieties of building than we've been able to have in the past. The P&Z did a great job of protecting us for all these years. It's time to think about how we can be more expansive in the kinds of varieties of housing that we have. I believe it's been shown that having many varieties of housing in a town is good for the town. It increases the resilience of the town. It increases the economic resilience of the town, and it actually increases the housing values overall. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Nancy McCormick, I totally support this. I think it's, as Kathy said, a great first step. And going worth in the right direction.
Anyone else in support?
I am in Mary Solera. I'm in support of this. I think it's long overdue. And I do think that a mixture of different kinds of buildings, kinds of families, this can work. Killingworth is moving along with everybody else. And I hope this is not just the first step, that we actually really can get some traction on this and do this, not only for the over 55 folks, but for other families, and make it affordable so that we can all stay here, because this is a great town and a lot of people in this room have made it great. We want to stay here. And so I'm very happy. Thank you for your attention.
I have one more comment.
Yeah.
This is Sandy Allard. If I'm not mistaken, people 55 will move in with their tax dollars, but they will not be a drain on the education system. You know, there will be more benefits or more money coming in for the tax base than there would be without them coming in.
Anyone else? Yeah,
Michael,
yeah, Michael?
yeah, so I'm in favor of this and I think it's long overdue. The only issue I have is with your 40%. I built probably 20 subdivisions in this town over the years. Typically, you're giving 20 to 25% max, which is usually your percentage of wetland anyway. So the land trust has that and they have flags. But we don't really get to utilize it a whole lot. And sometimes you do, but typically you don't. As far as your affordability, Mrs. Kate, I think that's great. But I learned a long time ago, the more government gets in and tries to make you do something affordable, the less chance practically it's ever gonna happen. How you make things affordable, in my opinion, is, and another thing is if you stick with the 40%, and everyone that might be in a subdivision that's here in this room now, you might not be there because you wouldn't have your unit at 40%. Going back where I live and 30 years ago for other people, long timers here. I think if you can increase density, but keep the rural nature of this community, you want to enjoy that density. That 40% will make it so that a developer isn't going to be able to offer affordability. They're going to go after whatever they can get and max it out. If you can increase density and have smaller units, affordability will take care of itself. And we will be able to make ourselves affordable. Well, I applaud what you're doing. Like I said, I tried bringing this to the town and I got, shot. They didn't want to hear it.
And just to be clear, you want that to be less than 40, right?
I think if you keep it at 40, I don't see one developer gonna apply if you pass it. And I'm just
And
keeping common sense.
was your reason the soccer field issue?
No,
Okay.
no,
So,
it's
okay.
about if
It's
you
about
have,
density, right?
let's say someone had 100 acres. But you have less than 16 acres flagged wetlands. Why would you want to give up another 37 acres when you could have brought in smaller units, got us a tax base with no hurt on our services to town and no one going to the school system versus that same 100 acres. Someone says, well, maybe I can get 8 more houses, but the yellow school buses are going to be coming up to each driveway. I only have to give 20%. I think if you guys look at that, you're going to see that you're taking an awful lot. If there's wetlands, that's going to take care of itself. No one's going to build on it, and we can build on it. That's all. Other than that, I think this is great. And I wish you guys a lot of luck, but I really hope that you would look at that because I built a lot of subdivisions, my family and I, and we know what builders look for. I mean, it's great to have a regulation, but if nobody ever applies, 20 years from now, we're going to say, what good was it?
Mr. Venuti, I have a question. if you
Go ahead.
don't mind. What percentage would you like to see?
I would look at what you currently have for regular conventional subdivision. I think the whole key here is, wouldn't it be great if you got 2 or 3 or 4 more units, but whatever the taxes were derived, it was a bonus that might help our other tax-paying people like myself, like everyone in this room. Our taxes, I don't know if they'll ever go down in this community, but they might stay the same. That's what I would think people want to look at. That's how you can get some affordability. But in like 100-acre unit, if you can get, in that case, it might be 15 more units. Well, that's your chance of getting affordability. But if you're dedicating so much open space, which could be good buildable land, I think that's you kind of shoot yourself in the foot because to me 55 and over is density, small lots makes it affordable, and enjoy the tax revenue.
So is 25% a good number?
20 to 25% is what believe, unless the town changed it. That's usually typically standard. And it was even, I'm going back 25 years, 20 years, we built the Haddam one. But I think they had 25 acres and they got about 20 units. So
Is that the one
obviously
you-
there wasn't a 40% delineation.
Is that the one you referenced earlier?
Yes,
I mean,
and that was a beautiful, that sold out immediately.
what's the name of that?
I don't know if it's Brault Road, whatever, I don't know if you guys, Jeremy Adamets has the repair
It's where
station.
Hillary Cumnick lives now.
Oh, Brookstone.
Yeah, okay,
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we built that for this guy,
That's
Joe
what
May.
I
He
said.
was a character, but we persevered and built a beautiful subdivision.
Yeah.
And I urged the zoning board back then, take a ride or we'll meet with you, look at this. This could be a beautiful blueprint for how you want to do things. The result was, I mean, Tony Bonnie was the first selectman and he couldn't stop talking about it and wanted to see more of it
And what do you think the percentage was there?
as far as,
Open space or?
it wasn't a lot. I don't know what the percentage was, but
And those are all,
they utilized most of the land for building.
they're all individually
Yes.
owned lots, right?
Yes.
It's weird, because I can't think of a single subdivision that would have 75% impervious surfaces. Roads, driveways, and buildings, right? I mean, I drive through my neighborhood, it's probably the reverse, 75% grass and natural and, you know, and only 25% impervious.
Well,
I just
that all
wondered-
comes down to also to what's your soil content. If you don't have good soils, you're not gonna get many units regardless of what your regulations are. If you have good soils,
But I
if
guess-
you're doing 55 and over, my contention is, as a community, you'd wanna get as many units as possible, because it's a boon for all of us.
And if you have that much impervious surface, like, you have to treat or deal with the stormwater runoff would be a lot more, obviously, right? Than recharging the, you know, the soil, if it's all paved, you know, 75%
Paved,
paved.
road drainage, catch basins.
Yeah.
You just hope somebody cleans out the catch basins once in a while.
Right.
They get cleaned out every year.
Anyone else? There's only one other person who hasn't spoken in favor. That's on the list here, so.
I'm
We're running
not
low.
on your list, but
Okay.
my name is Casey Jacob. I'm
Okay.
just wondering if you're talking about exactly the same thing, because the policy, as you're noting, refers to impervious surfaces or left in a wild state versus open space. And that's not necessarily the same thing. So even in the subdivision that Mr. Venuti is talking about, there's a ton of land that's not paved over or have a building sitting on it. There's
Right.
a lot, which I don't know what it would add up to, but it's not nothing. It's,
Like grass and landscape. Well, that's what we were saying, that
yeah,
grass, landscaped, everything or natural would be 40%. So if we reduce it to 25%, then you'd be talking about grass, landscape, woods, whatever you don't develop, you know, or put a pavement on or a building would be.
Tennis courts.
25%. Right, those, yeah,
Swimming pool.
exactly, yeah.
Clubhouse, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Anyone else in favor of? Yep.
I just want to emphasize again that my presentation, even though it dealt with affordable housing in general, which was provided in these two plans, is really just a recommendation for a very small number to be designated for affordable housing, not a large amount. I mean, I know a lot of seniors that have left and gone to other towns primarily because they couldn't afford to live here in Killingworth. And I would just like you to just take it into account.
Joan, Jeff Cook here. But you would still stick by the 55 or older requirement, just that some units, some percentage of units would be affordable.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Just wanted that clarification.
Another question I have for Mr. Venuti is the affordable idea scared developers off.
I think when government gets involved, everything scares developers off. I think the economy and density will determine if you have an affordable subdivision or not. The reason people are moving out of town is we've never addressed affordability in this community. We just never have. We've done a lot of studies, but the rubber's never met the road. I think you guys are taking a great step, and you just tweak some things, I could see where just by, natural balance, supply and demand, you're gonna get your affordability. But can you make someone be affordable? That's why you're trying to get Murphy and 830G, but
I'm trying to.
that hasn't
I'm
happened,
trying
right?
to
Because
get
that's the
rid of it.
government.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we don't get rid of HUD.
Right.
830G is.
So I
Thing.
it's just my opinion, but I think if you make regulations that have practicality and common sense, in this case, density, affordability would take care of itself, especially if you have a great length of 1,000 square foot to 3,000. And that's where that density it will take care of itself.
Or if you had a quad unit building, or something like that.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. It might be too late for this, but before we take more, for Jamie's benefit, she's our, taking, the minutes. I'm gonna try to ask if you can remember. I mean, I checked everybody who spoke in favor of it, but Joan, you went first. Does anyone remember who went second or third?
No, Sandy went first, I went
Oh,
second.
Sandy, okay, 1, 2.
Was I third? I am in favor of it.
Yeah, Jeffrey, right?
Yeah.
You were third, maybe third. Anyone remember if they went after Jeff?
Might have been me, Cindy, I don't know.
Cindy, okay,
I
yeah.
don't know.
I was after Cindy, Marcel.
Okay, Marcel, I'm guessing is 5. It's better than nothing.
Hmm.
Did anyone remember who went after Marcel? Was it
Yeah,
Mary?
yeah, we did.
Kathy talked, I
Yeah.
talked,
And I talked.
and then you talked.
All right, so maybe Kathy was
I
6.
think Bill Laney might have
Who
come
went
before.
before Jeff?
Bill Laney.
Somewhere.
All right. Well, we gave it a good shot. I don't think there's anyone left to speak in favor of it, so going once, twice, 3 times. Oh, yeah. Mike? Yep.
Yeah, just for the record, my name is Michael Harkin. I'm a
Yeah.
professional engineer and principal of Harkin Engineering. I'm obviously in favor for it. I just want to make sure that everybody was talking about apples to apples. When Mr. Venuti was speaking, he was talking about a percentage of disturbance on a site. So if you have 100 acres, the way it's written is you can disturb 60% of the site and leave 40% undisturbed. And Mr. Chairman, what you were talking about was impervious. There's a big difference.
So
Impervious,
maybe there's 3 categories.
yeah, impervious area are sidewalks, rooftops,
Mhm.
roofs, basically blacktop, where water can't infiltrate in the ground. So a lot of the affordable complexes that we design, for instance, there is an amount of disturbance that we can do. Maybe 80% is disturbed,
Mhm.
but there's also a percentage that we are allowed for impervious, meaning that 80% doesn't become blacktop and unit. It becomes houses with grass and trees planted, landscape plans. So by allowing a developer to, let's say, disturb it to get what he needs to, and then pull back based on percentage of impervious, I think that's more workable.
So for using the 25% example, that would be 25% left in a natural state, maybe another 25% landscaped, and then 50% impervious.
Correct, because
something like that, right?
when you're developing a lot, especially in Killingworth, Killingworth is known for wetlands and rock ledge. You have to disturb a great deal more and able to get what you're looking for as far as affordability and being able to build on that lot. So although you may go in and have to blast a lot of the ledge rock, you can also pull back and put the grass back in the trees. So disturbance is one thing, but impervious is another thing. So I think that if you weigh both, it would work out.
Okay, now it makes more sense to me. Yeah.
I just had a question. I read it earlier today, but I didn't see impervious.
Yeah, number 7, I'll read it to you because
Oh, it
it's
is.
short.
Okay.
And we have extra copies for people who want.
That's okay.
Okay. It says, the maximum impervious surface shall not exceed 60% of the site. The remaining 40% shall be landscaped or left in a natural state. So I think, that could be, that could be 20 and 20, 20% natural, 20% landscape, 30, 40. I mean, 30, 10, as long as it didn't exceed 40, but, so I think, yeah, Mike, what you were saying is that, Yeah, if they can disturb 75% of it, but they're not gonna pave 75% of it, that would work, right? Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
Right, and then you would go back to the impervious requirement for that zone. You would say, you can disturb 70% or 75%, leave 25% in its natural state, but your overall impervious of the whole site can't go over, say, 50%. That means you're disturbing it, you're cutting down trees and able to get in there, do a bridge crossing or something, and then you're putting it back as grass or.
You don't have a lot of runoff.
That's correct. That's correct. That's how it is.
Thanks, that's helpful. Okay, okay, that's it for in favor of then. Is anybody in, let's see, so I guess, yeah, the commission, we did question some of the responses, so we were allowed to do that. There are any other questions about what people said in favor of it? Then we'll go to any opponents who oppose the application and give their name and, the reason. Yeah, I kind of figured because like, 11 out of 12 were spoke in favor of it. I won't mention the name who didn't speak in favor of it. Same thing went out. They just might have been shy. So, all right, if there's no one speaking in opposition to it, and we did hear that there was, recommendations for tweaking or changing or adding or supplementing, so we're aware of that. So, Linda, do you have any reason to summarize you could think of?
I just want to thank everyone for all their comments. And really appreciate it.
Go on.
Commission well and their advisement, or commission well, I should say, as they. deliberate and-
Okay, so could I have a motion, to, I guess, close the hearing?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all right, so well, this hearing is closed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Our time is, the time has come.
So how do you start?
I give it
For the minutes.
I couldn't.
Yeah, that's all.
We were allowed to develop 60% of the site, like, but no, he wouldn't.
So once you.
You got
Yes.
Thank you for coming. One kind, one slice left. Eat it.
I told you.
I know.
Before you left.
Because it's at 40%, he was thinking, oh, we could go like this developer can't.
I'll see you.
Thank you.
I don't think we feel like that's gonna be misinterpreted by,
I don't like.
I don't know.
he read it as.
I'll talk to
Any Thursday.
All right, in a couple minutes, we're gonna start the regular meeting.
Good night.
Thank
you guys
Thank you,
very
man.
much.
Good night, Kathy.
Don't go below.
Let them do whatever they want with the other 40, as long as you don't pave it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Welcome home.
All right, so, okay, we just have Mike Harkin in terms of visitors now. For those who are attending online, I don't know if you can notice the room cleared out. But speaking of Mike, do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to move, Mike Harkin up to right after approval of the minutes, number 3.
Yeah, so agenda item 7 will move up to right after 4, communication and bills.
Right after 4?
Okay.
Yeah, because that'll go fast, yeah.
Okay.
I have this is the town clerk. Where should I put it?
Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we'll move that up. So I'm gonna call to order the June 17th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for a hybrid regular meeting agenda. For this meeting, as with the former one, if I didn't say it, Jamie, we're gonna have, actually, we're gonna have Julie sit for Mike Brew, because she didn't sit for anyone last month. And Stephanie, you'll sit for Will Toblerone. Well, so everybody who's here, plus Jeff, we have 5, right? So that's a quorum, yep.
You could see Alec too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Alec for, who are we missing then? Oh, for Bryce, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alec, you'll sit for Bryce then too, yep.
Good one.
Thank you to the subs who filled the bench tonight, yep. And, okay, Alec for Bryce. Okay. All right, thanks. And that was true for both the hearing and for this. Okay, so we don't have any visitors for brief public comments. That was agenda item 2. So agenda item 3 is the minutes of the May meeting. Anybody have any corrections to that?
No.
Yeah, I thought it was well done, Jamie. Thank you.
Jamie, I approve to move to approve the minutes of the May meeting. Stephanie?
Second.
Yes.
Stephanie, second, okay.
All right. All in favor of approving as is?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so approved as is, no revisions needed. I did notice there was an action item for our first selectman, Eric, to contact Madison's first select woman about the hot dog stand issue and all that, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's not correction, it's just, I don't know if anybody,
Yeah, and actually,
prompted that.
I did talk to Eric further at the concert at Parmalee. And I think what it came down to is really just a matter of to deal with this, because it's just a temporary
Approve or not
thing.
approve
It's
it.
not even really a food truck, it's just a temporary kitchen.
Oh, is this the one that's on 81?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Eric's going down that road right now with that, so I'm not sure.
so I knew it wasn't in our court, I just didn't want to
Right.
know if it just stalled somewhere. Okay. All right, so then communication and bills was really just Jamie's invoice that I approved and put in Gina's basket today. And we did get some invoices from Haller and Sage, if you want to put it in the minutes, came in over the weekend, but that wasn't time to put into this agenda, but it was before this meeting, so I approved those invoices as well. So that was it for communication and bills that I'm aware of. So we'll move into the new business, since we're taking that next before old business, which is application number 393, 250 West, 250 Rock Ledge, LLC applicant, 250 Route 81 site plan approval for the dry storage barn. So Mike, you want to present that?
Yep, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Michael Harkin. I'm a professional engineer and principal of Harkin Engineering located at 78 Wolf Hollow Lane in the town of Killingworth. Also, second office is at 250 Route 81 in Unit 2. So those of you that don't know the official name of the ice cream shop, that area is called Harkin Commons. We just had to throw a name on it when I purchased it. We're here tonight for the property in the rear of the ice cream shop. You really can't see it from the road. It's on the back side of it. The entrance is actually off of Route 80. As you come through the circle and you're headed towards Madison, it's the first road on the right. So again, here tonight for the dry storage barn. It's a funny story how we got here. I'll go over it real quick. Here is Route 80, here's Route 81, the commuter lot is here, the ice cream shop is here, there's a pond. This is the area in back. where Old Deep River Turnpike is. When I was building the ice cream shop, we had a little lull in action trying to get state permits to put our driveway in. Because of that, we jumped up to the top and I put the road, basically built out the site up top and nobody could really see it. We had a fence in there, we put the driveway in, I put $60,000 of landscaping in there. And we always knew, you can see these two little holes in here, that we were gonna do a cluster subdivision. That's basically 3 building lots or 3 buildings on one lot. That's the old owner, Mr. Dollar, had that set up and that was kind of always in the back of our head. So when we put the fill in there, we basically prepped it for that area. So what we're using it for is you can see there's a bunch of hoop houses in one of the holes. Is all the extra stuff from the ice cream shop, the ice cream machines, the tables and everything. I needed a place to store them. So we were storing them up in the hoop houses. You know, it was working out great for the first 2 years. Then we started to realize last summer, as we were prepping for the fall, that we need to get some lights up there, some electricity, because the name of the property and owner's Rock Ledge, it's all Rock Ledge up there. So we actually called up Eversource. We had Eversource come to the site and go through it and find out how we can get power up there. Well, the only way to get power up there is to put a new utility pole in, okay? We went through it with Eversource and you can see there's that nice little utility pole right there. Eversource said, okay, in order to get that pole put in and get utility, a transformer up in there, you need to pull a permit with the state DOT because the pole is going in the state right of way. So no problem. We went, got my contractor, we tried to pull the permit. We gave him the plans. DOT said, we're not going to give you a permit to put that pole in until we know what's going on up there. At that time, I had no real intent to build anything up there. I just wanted electricity. But this kind of forced us down a path where, because we couldn't get the pole in, based on the DOT needing to know what we're actually building up there, we had to put our heads together and figure out what we're going to do long term. We came up with a plan. My wife and I, we live on Wolf Hollow. My son graduated high school. My daughter's going to be a senior this year. So we really need to downsize. So we thought is, hey, we're going to do, since we're in a large business district, we're going to do mixed use buildings. We're going to put businesses down below, an apartment above for my son. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. And me and my wife are going to move up in here. So we would have basically family with our family businesses below. We went with that route. We talked to Linda. I designed the whole thing up. We went to the health department. The health department sent it up to the state health department because we were trying to do a combination septic system in here where we have 2 separate buildings tying into one. When you have that, the state of Connecticut has to approve it. So they kicked it back because 2 commercial buildings need a separation distance of 50 feet between the septic systems. We don't have that ability on this parcel just because of the configuration. So with that being said, that wiped up the possibility of one mixed use building. So we said, okay, if we're not going to do mixed use, we still need to store the stuff inside. Let's just do the dry storage barn, which we're here for now. Full disclosure, we will be coming in next month for a special exception for the mixed use building on the other side. And the reason we didn't do it all together is I happened to get a real good deal on the metal building. We need to get it ASAP due to price increases and all that with tariffs and metal. The special exception can take up to 2 to 3 months to get approved. So I needed to jump on this right away. And I came in and I talked to Linda and we talked about what the best way moving forward would be. So here we are tonight. It wouldn't be truthful of me to tell you that we weren't going to be coming in next month with that mixed use, but that's the plan. We'll come in with the special exception, go through the public hearing. I don't plan on building that for a while, but at least it's all approved. And then DOT can give us our permit to put in our pole and get our electric. So again, we have health department approval for the storage barn. There is no water usage. There is no electrical. There is no heat. We're just putting the barn in. In the future, we did show the heat, the propane tanks, the transformer. the utilities going to it. So we will at some point do that.
No, I'd like the half scale, but if someone else wants to
Yeah.
look at the plans up close, if you can't see that.
Yeah, so the
I would like it, yes,
the building's gonna be 30 by 50.
Is this size big enough?
And basically, it's basically a slab with the metal building on it. The building is gonna be a dark gray with a black top to match the ledge up there. We kind of like the camouflage and nobody really noticing what's going on up there.
So there are trees between there and Route 80.
Yes, sir, there's a fence right now. And there's trees all the way up there as a buffer.
Okay.
And right now, there's my trucks up there, a couple of trailers and hoop houses, and
You can't see them.
you can't see them. And the building, nobody's none the wiser. And even when we come in with the mixed use building, the height you still really can't see because we have an elevated berm with plantings up on top. You might be able to catch the roof if you're sitting at the ice cream shop. And then the larger blow up of the building, we did a rendering. The only difference is we took this door out. But it's basically 3 bays. And then what we're going to do is, because we don't know in the future if we want to rent it out, we will put piping in the floor to hook up to the septic system. The septic system is designed for the biggest system on there. It can accommodate really both buildings. It's overbuilt. For me, being a builder and a developer, it doesn't cost me that much more to do it, so I'd want to do it now. Knowing that if a business does go in there, a formal business, it has to come back to the commission for approval for that use. We don't have a problem with that. You guys can make that a condition of approval. If we do, in fact, turn it into an operating, put a bathroom in there and use it as an office space or a formal business. But the reality is we just want to keep it family oriented.
The 100% reserve, it says it's for building A. You're gonna
So.
construct that at the same time?
So, nope, so what this is in order to build a structure on a lot that already has a structure, you have to prove to the health department that you have an area that you can put a septic system in case that one original building septic fails. So this actual reserve for the ice cream shop
It's way up there.
is way up
So you
here.
have to pump it up.
The reality is if it fails at the ice cream shop, it gets replaced right in the same spot.
Okay,
You just have to show that.
another spot, okay.
And then when you see next month, you'll see multiple reserve areas, because there's multiple buildings now.
So it's just showing an area where a septic could work, fit, right?
If it does fail,
Right, okay.
it can go.
Nothing installed yet.
Yeah, that is correct. And the reason for that is they don't want to take up the good space for the building that you can put a septic and then be left with any area if in fact it does fail.
And I know the ice cream shop's building A, the dry storage is building C.
Yep.
Where's B, or was there a B?
B was
Was,
here where we
okay,
had to
right.
take off. B's coming in next month with
Okay,
a special exception.
right,
while we're
okay,
here.
okay.
And that's when you'll see the septic system design. That's already been designed. It's already, the health department's already sent the approval letter for that to the town.
Anyone else have questions, or?
Hey, Mike, Jeff Cook here. How you doing?
Good, Jeff. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's not really our purview. It would fall under CRAD, but just curious, that upper lot is pretty much just a big knob of rock, isn't it? How do
Not-
you
not
plan
yet.
to
It's a
do the
beaut-
septic?
It's a beautiful piece now that I spent all that money on landscape in the last 2 years. We did find a vein in between the two rock ledges.
Okay,
That is enough to handle the mixed use, which is the businesses below and a 2-bedroom apartment above on both buildings. So we do have a good area for that. The thing is, we couldn't have 2 separate buildings tying into one system because the separation distance was 50 feet by the health code. That's why they basically said you can't do it. You don't have that 50 feet available to you based on those rock ledges you were talking about.
okay. Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
because that site is like pre-prepared, it's already leveled, there's any grading that needs to be done or?
Nothing, it's
Okay,
basically put
so
the
no silt
concrete in.
fence or anything, right, yet?
Nope, it's
Okay.
all
All right.
kind of like to say it's like Mr. Miyagi's house. You don't know it's there, and then you go back there and you see all the flowers and trees and stuff we put in.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? Questions? All right, yeah, I took some notes, I guess, so this is a site plan approval. Anybody wanna talk about, concerns they have with this? I didn't get a chance to look up articles 500-69. Is that compliant with all that or? Okay,
Yeah, I looked at everything.
okay.
Everything is good. He meets all the setbacks and everything. I mean, basically, it's consider it a large barn. If it was a residential site, you wouldn't even have seen it. Just been approved in house. But it's commercial, so he's gotta do all this.
Right. And it doesn't seem like height wise, it's, I'm sure well within.
It's only 12 feet.
Yeah.
Single story.
And I know you said just electricity up there. Do we need to talk about lighting, down lighting, up lighting for parking or anything like that? I don't know if you've even got as far as what kind of lighting you're gonna put around the building.
No, I mean, right now we do have lighting. It's like the little solar ground up lighting, just to accent like the flower pots and a couple, LED
So it's
pieces
mostly
back
just
there.
daytime you go there to get stuff and
Pretty much.
return stuff.
If we do need it at night, and I've been up there quite a bit at night, but it's lit up, so the ground lights for
Or
solar.
enough and you go in and flip the
Exactly.
light switch.
Yeah, we don't wanna, we have a pretty good relationship with our neighbors and we don't want big light posts in there.
Yeah, cause I know there are houses on the other side of it.
Absolutely, yep, and that was our big thing when we were doing the work initially.
That's what I was remembering, because
Yeah.
I was on P and Z then when you first
Yeah,
applied. And I
with
was
Alan
wondering-
and-
I've been thinking about that and I said, sounds from what you're saying that all of that issue with neighbors has been resolved.
Yeah, since we were here, Al spoke that night, we met and we've had a great relationship ever since. Cause we've asked them, okay, do you want us to plant trees here? Do you not want us? They had a say in what we put there as far as flowers and landscaping.
Yeah.
So it worked out well.
Well, you guys have good ice cream, so I'm glad.
I noticed it said a revision due to health department comments. What was that about?
That was originally, we had the plan with the septic on there and the mixed use building, so we had to take everything.
Okay, all right, gotcha. For the, maybe phase 2. right?
Correct. And then I think that, one of the health department comments was to put a cross section on there, which we did. We put a cross section,
Last
septic
page.
on there.
Okay. Okay. All right, thanks, Mike. So I guess, the motion, right?
Yeah, let's make a motion to approve
Application.
application 393.
Oh, with, I guess, well,
It's just to protect you guys.
one condition, they have to come back if they make it a business, right?
Yes, with that condition.
Okay, all right.
You got that, Jamie?
So, yeah, there's a motion to approve it with the, application 393 with the one exception that if a business moves in, they have to come back for approval. Right.
And that was Jamie that made the motion. And I'll
Julie.
second, Julie.
Okay.
You're Jamie, this is Julie. That's Jeff, that's Alan. And I will second it.
Okay. So, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so, application 393 is approved.
All right, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next month with this.
Don't run away yet, Mike. We gonna have any discussion on OWFs?
Yeah, we gotta go through, well, it might be brief, but, it's on the
Okay.
agenda, standing item now. But I'm not gonna talk about litigation, that's a different issue.
Okay.
All right, so we're moving back to old business, the active adult regulation that we had the hearing for. So, Someone make a motion,
Well, so here's a question.
discuss it, right?
As I understand it, what Mr. Venuti just described and what Mr. Harkin described, if we were to flip these numbers and make it not 60-40, make it 80-20, would that do it?
No, I think we want to leave it how it is because we just want to make sure that the 40% can be disturbed as long as it's.
Yeah, the 40% could be any combination of landscaped or left as is. So it could be 30%, I mean, they could be 90% disturb the site and still meet this reg as long as they don't pave or make 60% of it impervious after they.
I think it's the 60-40 makes sense.
Okay, agreed, Mike? Is that what you were saying?
So just two things on it, to Mr. Venuti's point, which I think he was trying to get, was that, putting my developer hat on, if I'm coming into Killingworth and I'm seeing a regulation for normal subdivision where I only need 20% open space or 20% not disturbed space,
Mhm.
I'm all about that. But if I go and I'm trying to get a active adult community or even an affordable community, and I say, hey, now I can only disturb 40% here. What's my attractiveness not to do the residential housing where I can disturb more? So if they were both the same and you're giving more density to the active adult community, you're going to get a developer to jump because he gets more density.
But I mean, he is in a way getting more density because he can have 5 units on 1 acre. Whereas a regular subdivision, you can only have 1 unit on 2 acres.
Right, but he can sell that subdivision house
For a much.
for a lot more. See, we do a lot of this type of stuff throughout the state. We do it in New Haven. Town of Guilford hired us to do their affordable component to their town. But what's really stopping the affordability is not the desire to do it, it's the cost to build. Okay, so when you guys were talking before, I was just doing simple math. Right now, the cost, and Jeff knows, the average cost per square foot, our cost to build something, average is around $350 a square foot. So if I take 1,000 square foot unit, multiply it by 350, cost me $350,000 to build that structure. That's just the structure. Now, if I say I need to put the septic, the driveway, and do all the other site work for that 1 unit, it's probably another 50. So if I add 50,000 to that, I'm at $400,000.
So you're gonna sell it for 500 at least.
Right. Is that really affordable? Why can't I just stay in the house that I have at that point? So,
Well, but we're not actually talking affordable here, though.
well, anything,
More
even if it's active adult,
Affordable, okay.
what's happening is, and I think that's what Mr. Venuti is trying to say, you have to make it attractive for a developer to get the density to offset the cost. So if you took that $400,000 to build 5 units on 1 acre, that's $2 million. So a developer has to put $2 million out on the table before he can even make a dime, and how much can he actually make on that? Not really attractive to him. So you have to make it attractive for the developer to want to do that. And the only way is to get more density.
Well, wouldn't allowing
Sweeten
like
the
a
deal.
5-unit, structure, that would bring the 350 square foot down, right? If you had common walls and all in one building, you had 1,000 square foot units
Correct. And I could say it just
and
from
1 driveway.
from my
that kind of
profession
stuff,
is,
yeah.
I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Because I've dealt with it for the last, I would say, 5 years. Affordable complex for the last 4 to 5 years. The federal government was giving out so much money. Almost every project throughout the state was affordable or large scale because it was federally funded. That was very attractive for these developers because they were getting federal money to offset the cost of building. The private developer coming in trying to do an adult community privately without the federal money, it's very hard for them to put that money up.
Now, one of the things is, I sit on the regional planning. One of the things that has come up consistently across the 17 towns, but not so much in Middletown itself,
Mm.
which is more built up, is that the density begins to be in a disagreement with town zoning and development
Correct.
regulations.
Correct.
And that is where a problem has existed in some of these towns.
Mhm.
And that's not something that is easily resolved.
Correct, and which, that's why you start seeing a lot of court cases for the affordable component is, or excuse me, the active adult, is you get these people that you start to see the town and the
That's right.
developer do this, that's where the lawsuits come
That's
up.
right.
So that's why you see it throughout the state, as everybody says, throw my hands up, I'm going 830G. Who's gonna stop me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
The way this was written, though, it reads, remaining 40% shall be landscaped or left in natural state. That means open space.
right.
Yeah.
He could come in and disturb 100% of what that parcel.
Yeah.
And then he just has to, he can only put impervious surfaces on 60% of that disturbed area.
I think that's the way. I think it just has to be clarified more, because when I was out in the hallway hearing the discussion, I didn't have the paper in front of me. Mr. Venuti was talking about disturbance. And then you were relating it back to impervious.
Yeah.
And it can't be, they're two different things. Disturbance is one. It could be very high to disturb. You can disturb 100%, but you have to bring it back in compliance where only 60% is
Right.
impervious.
Well, that's what he was
40%. I just think it has to be
Because if it's a fully wooded 5-acre lot, 10-acre lot, you're gonna have to clear.
Yeah.
A good
everything.
percent of it.
The way it's
Right.
worded gives the developer more discretion to disturb as much as he wants
Yeah,
versus saying
we don't limit. what-
25% landscape,
Right,
25% natural and 50%, impervious. That's tying his hands more than just saying,
Mm.
you can clear the whole site, but you can only put back, and maybe there's another way to say that where.
I think you just need to clarify where the end result of the development is 60% maximum impervious coverage and 40% has to be returned to a natural state of either grass, trees.
Versus bare soil or something erodible, right? Yeah.
Right.
Right, I mean, and
But I think what Mike was saying, Mike Bernuti was saying is that's locking up 40% of that parcel that you can't develop.
He was, the way he was interpreting it and the way the discussion was, and he was seeing things differently, is he was thinking you were treating it as open space,
Right.
like a conservation easement.
right,
Okay, that's what he was saying, and you guys were thinking something different. It might, and I can't speak for him, but the way I heard him speaking from the hallway was 40% can't be touched, but 60% can be touched.
but that 40% can be walking trails. It could be vegetable gardens for the people. It could be.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it could be the grass, it's the grass around the house, it's the
Grass
grass
around
between the
the-
sidewalk and the road, next
That's
to
the
the
difference.
driveway, it's all that
Right.
grass that you gotta replant.
They
But
were
it still
thinking-
means there's 40% you cannot
Yeah.
develop.
But it is
Right.
worded,
Right.
remaining
Well,
forty
right.
It's
Can't say
about the
develop.
wrong word.
You can't say
Right.
develop, because when you take trees down that and clear it and grade
40% cannot have a building.
A dwelling on
it.
Yeah.
it. Correct.
It's clear. It says remaining 40% should be landscaped or left in natural
mix,
state.
yeah.
Right.
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, I think in the discussion, that's all, he was saying something
Yes.
different.
Yeah,
That's-
all
yeah.
right, gotcha,
Okay, all right.
gotcha, okay.
But what, can I just make a point? This basically comes down to interpretation. The bill was, the regulation was really fine-tuned. And it pretty much allows a wide discussion on the situation. And it also allows, a lot of it is up to the discretion of the P&Z. It's different in New Haven. We can't talk about New Haven. We can't really talk about Middletown. What we're basically talking about is Killingworth. And 60/40, it's all up to, somebody comes in, oh, well, it's 60/40, and their idea of what 60/40 is, and what basically it comes down to, and it is stated in the regulation, pervious, impervious. Those terms are mentioned.
But I think you're right,
So
Bill.
there really is no question. And 60-40 seems like a very, very reasonable ask.
Right. Yeah, now I'm thinking about it, it's, yeah, when you count the lawn, the grass around the buildings,
Yeah,
Right,
that's all pervious.
right.
right,
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Exactly.
40%.
So you're
Right.
gonna get your 40%
Yeah.
Right.
pretty quickly.
exactly.
And there are also setbacks all the way around the property. There are setbacks.
And that's
Yeah.
also pervious.
You're
So,
right.
so that's,
Yeah.
that, you can't be building on that outside of the driveway going in.
Right.
Yep, so they're not
Okay.
losing that way.
So
So,
I
so
think
that is unbuildable, unusable outside of the trees and the grass and everything and the shrubs that are there.
okay,
Yeah, you're gonna get the 40% when it's done.
when it's done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, because, and with the subdivision, you still have all, everyone's lawns and the setbacks and everything, but then you're giving open space.
Right.
So when you add it all up,
It adds up.
Yeah,
it still adds
exactly.
up to more than 20%.
The reality is that the lot configuration in the soils, just like everything in Kenilworth, is gonna
Dictate that.
determine how many actual units you can get on that, because not only are you putting in primary septic system for each unit, you have to show 100% reserve, and then you also have to put an underground detention, some sort of stormwater management for the impervious, which has a 50-foot offset from the septic system. So all the codes that are in place actually help limit what's happening on that lot for density.
Right.
What about it was number 6, somebody said, should there be 2 points of access and egress, I guess for safety and fire safety?
Well,
but-
that's.
That would be the fire department, the fire
That's,
marshal.
Yeah.
that's gonna be site specific, when
Right.
Okay, so it
whoever
depends
comes
on the
in.
site.
Right, if you want,
With the plan.
how big the road is,
Yeah.
how long it is,
Yeah.
how wide, all
What he
that.
was getting at was, we can't have a cul-de-sac road longer than, what is it, 600 feet, I think?
Yeah.
700 feet, something like
700
Yeah,
feet, something
before
like
you-
that. That's where they were going with
Yeah,
that.
and that's, the fire marshal, I mean, any of these, the fire marshal's gonna have to
Right.
look at to approve.
And this
so.
could come off of 50 feet of frontage, so that can be put at, and almost squeezed in almost anywhere, as long as you have back,
Right.
land behind it.
Right.
And so 1 point of access, like even Gardula, where he wants to, add apartments, those have one driveway in and out.
I
yeah,
mean,
so.
Madison Hollow is a cul-de-sac, it's
Yeah.
got 1 point of access.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's not a limit or a
You
problem.
want to call for a motion?
No, I wanted to ask that Jeff B. Brewer brought up this point about, we want to make sure it's not 830G HUD restricted. Does anything in here do that, one way or the other?
No.
I didn't
I mean,
see
they
it,
could
so-
come in with one, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay,
I
but
don't see them
we
come in
can't
with an
restrict it or
830G
allow
as
it
an
or
adult.
encourage it in this, right? So
No.
we're not, I wasn't sure if this was somehow pushing in that direction.
No,
As he
no,
said.
I don't see any active adult doing an 830G.
All right, you guys know more than I do on that area. I did notice, everyone spoke in favor of it. There was nobody who spoke against it.
Right.
There were terms like, even when Joan was talking, she said, our plan of conservation development encouraged accessory apartments, age restricted, moderate to low income, and I'd say moderate income, we can maybe check that box. So we check all those boxes, from what we've done and what we're doing. It's the affordable housing, but only about a third of those in favor of it said that they'd like to see affordable pushed in with this. The majority didn't say, they said, that could come in other ways, shapes and forms. And even alternative housing, we're allowing for a mix of housing, so we're checking that box too. So I think we're checking 5 out of 6 boxes to make housing more available. That's probably a better way of putting it, right? Right, to most income levels, okay.
Hey,
So that was just a nice beach, yep.
quick question, again for Mike. In your, I don't know how far along you are with Guilford, but you certainly are out and about a lot more than we on the commission are. What do you see in terms of, like, we spent a lot of time kicking around this 60-40 ratio? What are you seeing as in your work when you go and get involved in some of these things? projects.
So what I've been seeing, the ones that we're involved with, in order to get a high density, you're disturbing pretty much 100% of the site. Disturbing.
Yeah, I don't
And
care.
in the
about
end, you're
this-
pulling back.
I don't care about the disturbing thing. It's the end result of, I like the idea of pervious versus impervious as a descriptor. So, the end result, when it's all said and done, what do you see as, is 40% impervious, 40% pervious on the high side, and it's gonna, make a developer less apt to approach the project?
No, it's basically either 60-40, 70-30 is what we see. Okay? You guys are right in the ballpark. I think 60-40 works out good for Killingworth. If we're moving more towards an inner city, if we're in like a Branford area, I would say 70-30. But these large scale projects for active adult communities, generally the project team has a landscape architect on board, and they're really designing it because I think one of the board members had basically said is, listen, you got to do drainage. The more impervious area you have, the larger the drainage is. The larger the drainage, the less units you get based on septic and setback.
Retention.
So you're actually juggling it, but being a rural type of community, I think 60-40 works out.
Especially when you have to have well and septic.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
That's
right.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
Without that, land counts.
I think Mike Venuti was reading that a little incorrectly.
Yeah, and then when he was talking, he was thinking
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Another thing I thought, this was a little ironic, one of the first questions was, how many lots, in town would meet the definition of more than 10 acres
And
buildable?
it depends, because you
Buildable,
can
yeah,
have,
stuff.
you could have a 20-acre lot with 10 acres of buildable structures with a house on it, and you could still turn that into an active adult. Doesn't have to be a vacant piece of land.
Right,
They could
and
tear the house down, or they could
Build around it.
build around it, use that as
and I got the
as
sense,
one of the units, or the community center for it, or whatever.
but did you get the sense, the concern was, there might be 100, and we don't want 100 of these.
But you're not
But
gonna get
everybody
100.
spoke in favor of it, so,
Right, and you're
so
not
you
gonna
think
get-
they'd want there to be a lot of.
You're not gonna get
lots like
100
that.
of them.
No, I'm exaggerating, but
I think it was just a point of curiosity.
curious, yeah, right.
Do you happen to know? We just
Yeah,
kind of
you
like.
just-
Hey, if there's zero,
Yeah.
then why even do this?
Right.
If there weren't any, then it's a
Right.
move, make it
Right.
6 acres, like,
There's
bring
lots
it
of
down,
10-acre plus parcels in.
so we know there's multiple, we just don't know if it's a dozen.
Many of them
or
have houses on
100.
them, but.
There's
Right.
very actually few that are actually gonna fall into.
10 buildable, right,
10
in one
buildable.
parcel.
10 buildable in
contiguous,
Killingworth, it's probably more like, in order to get to 10-acre buildable, it's basically 2 to 1. It's probably need 20 acres
Right.
total.
yeah, Because of all the.
Because of the
legend.
soils,
Wet-
the soil requirements, the ledge and the wetlands.
Yeah.
You take that out, which we all know Killingworth is full of all those items. To get to 10, we don't have, there's very few lots around that have 10 perfect buildable soil type.
And you gotta be able to get wells for all of those, how do you have enough water to do the
And
well, and
if
then.
we realize that, then
Oh,
in a year or two, we can change it to 7 acres,
Right.
if it's not happening because
Yeah.
they're not there,
You always have the ability to tweak.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, then I guess, we can vote on this. We didn't continue the hearing, so, there was a motion, right?
No.
No, okay, then someone make a
I
motion.
think Alec was gonna make a motion.
All right.
I was going to make a motion.
We're all active members today, yeah.
To approve it.
I don't think we agreed there was no need to change anything.
Right.
Yes.
We did a pretty
Yes.
good job.
Good job. Thank you.
All
So-
right.
I make a motion to approve, to vote on the active adult community regulations.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Stephanie seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
All opposed? Okay, we did our first regulation under my leadership. So
More to come.
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks everybody and especially Linda for drafting it, redrafting it, and the fact we had good favorable response and no need to edit it, and we can always tweak it. Yeah, so that's great. So
Good, thank you.
new business is taken care of. Yeah, so we're gonna go back to old business.
Good night, guys.
Okay, good night.
Thank you, Mike. Send us a bill.
Actually, old business, like, a standing thing is, night, Mike.
Yeah.
It's OWF regulation, but that's kind of on hold
Yeah.
during this litigation, everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Floor space, we discussed that, pretty much agreed to the definition last time. I think we just carried over that note. Unless somebody has something, and then housing, yeah, we, if somebody wanted to talk additionally about housing, I mean, Joan left and, but there is the bill 5,000 too, so you want to say a couple things about that? Yeah.
All right, so I'm not quite sure where 5,002 land stands right now. You know, the governor has to the 24th to make up his mind if he's gonna sign it or veto it. He wants it tweaked. I don't know if he'll sign it because then the legislature doesn't have to do anything once it's signed. Some of the major issues is, the fair share. It's a whole other argument story. But the ones that would affect planning and zoning, if they're passed, and some of these I think might be passed. The as of right of middle housing on any lot voted commercial, I think that might end up being tweaked so that it's allowable, but you have to at least have site plans and approval, some say. So that's one. Another one is about mobile home parks and this, or mobile homes, I should say, that kind of got put in there. Allowing a mobile home, including a single wide, not a trailer, but a mobile home with a HUD certification. On any lot, you would allow a residential house to be built. So if somebody wants to put a single wide on a 2-acre lot and connect it to well and septic, you have to allow it. The other is the parking. And that one I think will definitely be changed, in my opinion, if he does veto it or if he agrees to go back.
Can you elaborate just briefly
The
on?
parking right now says basically any smaller development, anything 24 units or less of a residential development. Unless they don't have to provide parking.
Right.
They could do on-street parking. I mean, as you said, there is no place in Killingworth you're parking your car on the street overnight.
Right.
So you could request a study if the developer came in and did plan
It's
for
a
housing.
big issue in Chester about 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and to put it bluntly, all hell broke loose.
Yeah, it's, even the cities are having an issue with that because there isn't enough parking even in cities to, So you could you can make them do a traffic study to verify that, why they say you don't need parking, and
Would you
so.
have to widen the road because then
No,
become
we wouldn't have
unsafe?
to widen the road. That's what, they would have to show that it was safe and.
So if a road's 20 feet wide, you can show it
Or
wouldn't
just
work, right?
I mean, the windy roads of this town, and then what do you do in the snow when they have to plow and there's no parking on
Yeah,
the
it's
street?
impossible.
Yeah, it's not workable.
It's not a workable thing, so.
A question,
Right.
what does it, within the law? Are there, for somebody to kind of carve out a little bit of a pull off the road kind of thing at the end of their driveway or whatever? Are there laws against that? Are there laws that you can't park on streets in Killingworth?
Right of way.
That's in the town right away, so, I mean, people, and you see it in some towns, people with a really steep driveway or something will have something on the bottom to do that, and the towns will allow it, but they were gonna park there all the time. The town could say no.
But it's usually a little paved or gravelled area off of the road.
Right, that
It's
they,
not
right,
out in
not
middle
on the
side of
road,
yeah.
exactly.
So the town can deny it,
Can deny what?
a pull off.
Oh, pull up.
Parking in the right of way, yes. The answer to the question is yes,
Yes, okay.
yes.
Yeah, like I said, the other big thing was the middle housing. And so middle housing is 2 to 9 units of housing. That's what's considered middle housing. You could do,
You mean just connected?
no, it doesn't have to be connected. They could be
You mean 2 to 9
two to 9
units?
units, and they attached, you
Oh,
know,
all
it
on
doesn't
one
matter.
lot, you mean?
All on one
Okay,
building
gotcha,
lot.
okay,
That's for the commercial.
gotcha.
You know, the thing with Killingworth is they still have to meet all the requirements for well and septic, so. You know. There's some infrastructure and transit adjacent community issues that may affect us down the line if it's signed. I didn't do a lot about it until I know what they're gonna do. It's 91 pages long, so. A lot of it, though, is about financing and saving account for first-time home buyers. So there was a huge section on that, so that won't affect us at all. There was a few things about 830G and moratorium appeals and how many people can vote to deny or petition on a amendment or a subdivision or something in their neighborhood that are opposed to it before you have to do anything. So those were the big highlights of it.
If the
Linda,
governor
what if
doesn't
the,
sign it, this all goes away. The governor doesn't sign it, it all goes away?
Right.
He's got to sign it or veto it. If he doesn't sign it, it could he could do that and then it's law.
Like,
I mean, there is a way that if he just
Ignores it?
ignores it,
It
it
becomes-
goes into effect.
I know that.
There are some statutes that happens, but I'm not sure if this is one.
I know that the federal side, the president has what they call a pocket veto,
Yeah.
which he just ignores it
Right.
and it dies. But I don't know if that works. It's the same
Sounds like the opposite here.
in the state. I don't know.
Yeah, there's somewhere, if he doesn't sign it, it could,
Yeah, I don't.
yeah, I'm not
Like
sure
if we
how it
ignore an
works.
application, then it goes through.
Yeah.
right?
It goes through,
We
so,
can't just,
right,
shelve it,
exactly,
yeah.
so that's, you know. So,
Hey.
but he's at the Paris Air Show right now, so, and then Thursday's a holiday, then and he's not gonna do whatever on Friday, cause that's too much weekend of paper and news and stuff, so it'll be Monday or Tuesday of next week when he
Gets
makes
back.
up his
Yeah.
mind,
But he doesn't have a deadline, right?
the 24th,
Oh, he does, okay.
Yeah.
So this next week.
yeah, so I am watching it, and paying attention to it.
Well, let's not start rewriting our regs till we find where it lands.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, well, speaking of, the regs,
Linda,
I have been working on,
Linda, before you
Yeah.
continue, I just had one last question. I'm still a little confused over is 5002, if it goes becomes law, does that supersede 830G?
No, 830G still stands.
830G still stands. There's a couple of changes to 830G in this law. There's a couple of subsections that are changed as far as, one of the things is if the town challenges it in court, denies something, and it goes to court, and the town loses, you now have to pay all their attorney fees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
we love paying through.
so that's one of the things, and to be honest, the towns very seldom win in court.
Right.
I mean, they drag it out, it can take years, but exactly, so the fees could get very high there.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Wanda's zoning enforcement
Yeah.
officers report.
Yep, so the only thing is, as you know, I am working on the regs. I've got the active adult just about finished, and I have the commercial regs, thanks to Tom going over everything with me with my questions of what you guys meant by certain things in the current regs. So I'd like to send them all to you and then I think we probably need not a meeting, not a regular scheduled meeting to go over, especially the commercial, but a work session for whoever wanted to come and go over them and explain them before we kind of go forward with them with the public hearing, what we're talking about.
Sort of like a subcommittee
Yeah,
workshop,
workshop type,
not a meeting.
not an official meeting,
We're gonna make any
so.
decisions on
Right.
applications.
No, only to talk about the regs and everyone's ideas that,
Yeah.
is interested and before we discuss it in a public forum.
Right. And any rate change goes to a public hearing.
Right.
Anyway.
Right, yeah, and we've got, and everything has to go to the attorneys first for legal sufficiency, once we have it all hashed
So
out.
maybe if everyone can think about, if they want to raise their hand and volunteer to be on this subcommittee.
Would
Right.
depend on when it meets. because
What
of
regs
the
in
schedule.
particular are you referring to?
Right now, I'm working on the commercial. We did have, Gene Gardullo come forward with some suggestions. He didn't want to do the actual application himself, so, it'll be whatever we decide and reading. And, and going, looking at what 5002 looks like and if parts of it that I think will still go forward, I'm kind of trying to put that like definitions and stuff right into the regs now, so we don't have to go back and change them. Kind of anticipating what's going on down the road,
Yeah, I knew there were several definitions. I want to clarify.
so. So I mean, you could, whatever works for the commission members
I
for
mean, if
meeting.
it's like 2 Tuesday nights from now, like, I don't know if Tuesday nights tend to be more free for people, not because of this, but I'm just throwing out an idea.
Yeah,
That would work.
yeah, that would work. I could do it.
I might be away, but that's not why I suggested
Oh,
that.
that's
Maybe
why
next
you said-
Tuesday night I'll be around, but 2 Tuesday
Will
nights.
you bring chocolate?
Oh, remember the cookies at the end of the year?
Yeah, that's, 2 Tuesday nights is July 1st.
Ooh, that's a tough weekend.
Yeah,
That's a tough, I know.
Next Tuesday too
That's-
soon?
Yeah.
I mean, that works, I mean, I don't know if it works for you guys, but.
That'd be okay.
Well, Linda, yeah, if you're gonna lead the effort, then yeah, do you want to just email everyone and let them know that we're gonna get together here, like, well, let's see, yeah, Tuesday nights, right? We'll just- yeah, let everyone know.
Tuesday nights are good for me, so.
And the people, so you could come in, or we don't need to do a video thing, right?
Yeah,
Whoever
I
comes
just,
in will be part of it.
I couldn't come in tonight, but yeah, we would come in.
Right,
That
okay.
would make sense.
Alec,
Right, if
I
you
don't know.
can't, I mean, I'm gonna send everyone the stuff, and if you can't come in, you can email
Comment,
your comments, you can mark up what I send you and your thoughts.
Good.
or get on the phone.
Yeah,
So you want to say a week from today?
okay,
Okay,
that works.
you good, Jeff?
So that's the
A week from today or 2 weeks?
24th.
week.
One-
24.
2 weeks is like the 4th of July week.
Yeah,
Is
that
that
works.
enough, is that enough time for you to get everything out?
Yeah, they're all done, they're already on the
Okay,
computer,
alright.
I can send them out tomorrow. I didn't wanna send them out before we dealt with the active adult, because I didn't want anyone getting confused with. what
Yeah.
we're looking at.
Right, okay.
So I figured one at a time.
So we got you, me, Paul, Jeff, Julie,
Don't know.
okay, Stephanie?
Tuesday is at 7 o'clock?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I can do it.
okay,
It'd be the
that's enough.
4th, right?
3 or 4 people is all we really need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That works,
Okay.
right, and that's all I got.
All right, and then, I don't think we mentioned that being like a short subcommittee, just informal. I don't think we have any other subcommittees, well, except maybe, River Cog. So any reports of officers or subcommittees? We're stumbling to get to. All right, this meeting's adjourned. Thanks,
Now I
everyone.
need a motion to
Good
adjourn.
night.
Motion.
You know, Tom always used to say, this meeting is adjourned.